I've always hated the night because I felt as if something was in my room, watching me. On one particular night, I had done my usual routine and fell asleep, waking up in the middle of the night and sitting up. In front of my bed was a dressing table. I looked at it, and sitting on top was a tiny person, but he was green. And although it sounds silly, he looked a little like a leprechaun. I looked at it, and he looked right back at me. And when I realized it, I started screaming. And the more I screamed, the more it laughed. I screamed and screamed, and he continued laughing louder and louder. Soon, my mom burst into the room and turned on the light, but the little green man was gone. I've never seen it since, and I don't know why it was there. The story sounds unreal, and everyone I've told thinks that I was just dreaming, but I know I wasn't. It was weird how I couldn't take my eyes off it, and I was so scared, but couldn't look away. I just wondered if anyone else had any ideas of what this could have been. Sounds like a tiny pedophile to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Midget's gotta get that, too.
So that was Leprechaun, based off the story Leprechaun by Georgie252, a fellow who lives in the United Kingdom and has apparently seen a leprechaun.
I love that the paranormal category on this is non-human entities.
Non-human entities.
But
I don't know.
a leprechaun would be...
He would be non-human.
No.
Well, he's not leprechauns aren't human.
No, I know, but I'm thinking the way that it looks, though, is kind of...
Yeah, they do look kind of like midget.
Yeah.
I hate to say midgets.
I don't know. It's just non-human entity sounds really funny to me.
Well, welcome to, I believe, the 8th episode, could be 7th, of the Spook It podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Caitlin.
And we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Back again.
Back.
Spook It's back. Tell your friends.
Please.
I know on Facebook a few days ago I had promised 2 new episodes. However, I was using a headset mic, and there was these weird popping sounds throughout both recordings.
Yeah, we gotta figure stuff out.
So I scrapped them. They're both gone. So I figured we'd just do a normal episode.
We have a lot of good intentions, and then things happen.
Yeah.
We're like pathological liars in a way.
Almost. So here we are in March. St. Patrick's Day was not too long ago.
No.
Right?
Maybe.
Just around the corner. But before that was the ever favorite Pi Day.
314.
3.14. I've never... Actually, of all the baked goods, I think pie is my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Except for pumpkin. No, pumpkin pie is a
it's
pie.
It's still a pie,
it's in the pie. Yeah. But,
pies are great.
Pies are really
it's
good.
It's the right... See, cake has one consistency. It has to be that breadish cake thing. And pie has so many different...
well, you've really just got filling and then crust.
Well, that's the thing. There's so many...
I don't like the crust.
See, and that is absolutely ridiculous, because that is the best part.
Well, whatever. So we're back. We figured for the month of March we would do an Ireland sort of themed. We have a few stories about leprechauns, a story about a banshee, and in the spirit of 3.14 Pi Day, I have some phobias for you. Are you? Now, don't get too scared.
I have a phobia of you telling me about phobias.
There's actually a phobia for that.
Is there?
Yeah, I'm not gonna look it up though.
No, let's look it up afterwards.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the first one is arithmophobia, which is the fear of numbers.
Arithmetic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that
arithmetic?
Is that it?
I would imagine so.
I was thinking it was either arithmetic or arithmetic. I've lost it.
But
I'm having a seizure.
You also have fallen down the stairs many times. Arithmetic.
Arithmetic or
Oh, I don't know what you're thinking of.
Arithmatics. I was thinking.
That's not a thing.
I know it's not a thing.
Arithmophobia. So, arithmophobia can be the fear of certain numbers. A lot of times it's the number 13. I've seen the number 4 pop up. So apparently there's a
I know
fear
13's
of the 4.
like the biggest. Well, no, 666 would be the biggest one. I would.
Yes,
think.
there's a fear of the 666.
13.
Apparently there's a.
Why would 4?
I have no idea. Apparently there's actually a separate fear for the number 13 called triskaidekaphobia. I don't know what that's about. We're not talking about it. That's the number 24.
23.
23?
Yeah. It's a pretty good movie.
It is actually a decent movie, yeah.
Good for Jim Carrey. It's good for him.
So what are some of the causes of this fear? I get, apparently it just comes to, I don't know, just a whole bunch of heredity, genetics, traumatic effects, your normal phobia type, number-based. I guess if you're like an extra on Sesame Street and like the number 3 fell off like a ladder, broke your arm. I don't know.
I feel like you have to start your own conspiracy theory about it almost. Like you feel like in your lifetime, it feels like this number has been a consistent in your life. So it's almost like a conspiracy theory about yourself, about a number. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
You know, 8 has already showed up in my life. 8 was this and 8 happened at this and like da da da.
Or it's the government doing it.
No.
Oh boy. That government.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, thanks for
numbers.
Thanks for making up
numbers.
So I actually have another phobia for you.
Oh no!
As if this one wasn't enough. This one's called, and hopefully I'm saying it correctly.
You're not.
It's either mageirosophobia or mageirosophobia. Mageiroco phobia, and that is the fear of cooking. Again, pie related. You bake pie.
I might have that. Honestly.
Understandable.
Does it include stir fries? Because that's about all I make.
Don't remind me. Possibly. However, there's multiple stages to this phobia. Apparently, it's partially the fear of causing an illness by not preparing it correctly, and we kind of saw some of that in the food episode.
Oh yeah. Then it'll get you sick.
There's a fear of serving inedible food.
This is super interesting.
Yeah.
I like the presentation concerns.
The cooking process, fear of recipes. Apparently, it's a huge, just encompassing.
Yeah, that is fascinating.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're afraid of a recipe, I guess. Really, this seems to be more just uncertainty. If you've never baked before, you'll obviously have I guess presentation concerns, inedible food, illness.
Yeah, I mean, I would think for me, I don't cook, and that would be like most of everything.
Yeah,
but not to the point where I would think it was actually like something that had a name to it.
Apparently, it can be treated at least. With cognitive behavioral therapy, I guess they can kind of. It seems to be a lot of almost a self-conscious sort of fear. So a lot of it is making you okay, making you positive, just make you feel good about yourself.
Well, it's
so
probably
you kind of overcome that.
It's probably like, how could the chicken be inedible when you just bought it? You know it's like
you've followed the directions, you've cooked it long enough.
That's interesting.
So yeah, I guess there's medication too, but. Whatever.
What?
I don't even care.
List the medications you're on. Well, I have a fear of cooking. So.
I don't know. So, moving away from pie, I suppose.
No.
We're gonna get into our Irish-based stories.
Irish pie?
Irish.
Ooh, what would that be? Well, shepherd's pie?
That's probably a brothel. The Irish pie. No. Yeah, I'll explain it to you when you're older. I've never been to that part of Europe. I've always thought it's been interesting.
Have you say that? Ever? Oh yeah, no, I've always been to Europe.
I'm just asking. I don't know. I didn't know.
You say like it's not normal for most people to have backpacked across most of Europe anyhow.
That's
unlike
true.
some of us.
Okay. Well, anywho, I would love to go, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
However, I've read a lot of, like, when I was younger, like, ghost stories based on Ireland. We used to go to, like, the Highland Games down here every, I think it's January. And I would buy, like, ghost stories.
Really?
Like, Irish ghost stories. And a lot of it, like, from what I've looked at, a lot of it is, like, true. They have a lot of, like, haunted castles.
These
creatures in the night and stuff like that. So.
Well, I've watched 6, now 7 documentaries on leprechauns.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But how many Leprechaun franchise movies?
Those are the documentaries.
I see.
Yes.
I guess I should have known.
Fascinating documentaries.
Back to the Hood is my personal.
Yes. Leprechauns, in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Aniston hosted one of the Leprechaun documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
The last Leprechaun documentary was atrocious. They tried to talk about its...
Let's talk about that movie for a second. We're going to go off on a tangent. Leprechaun Origins
is...
Do not be confused. It is not part of the famous Warwick Davis Leprechaun franchise. This is its own movie that I think
they tried to do like riding on the coattails, but when it was like, hey, is this associated with Leprechaun? They were like, sure is Leprechaun. And they didn't, they just kind of beat around the bush of it actually.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Don't watch.
Oh my god, it's so bad. Leprechaun Back to the Hood is amazing. Leprechaun Back, like, in Space, amazing. And coming to Netflix in April.
Ooh. Is it called Leprechaun in Space?
Yeah. Leprechaun.
Citation needed on that
I think so. It's Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Yeah. This has gone way too long. Whatever. Look it up if you're interested.
Documentaries.
Sure. Do you remember in school having to wear green and stuff on St. Patrick's Day?
I never wore green.
You never did?
No, we didn't have to. It was one of those things where it was like, it's St. Patrick's Day, you should wear green. And then I woke up, wore black, and...
Didn't you get pinched a lot?
I'd find something green. Just one of those, like, I have a pencil.
Or you could use the famous "it's my underwear" excuse.
Oh yeah, a lot of people use that too.
I have an embarrassing story about St. Patrick's Day being a kid. So, my mother was a big, I suppose, like, history buff. Like, she'd like to know a lot about everything. Keep in mind, this is when I was very small, so she could have been just bullshitting the entire thing. But apparently, the original color, like, of Ireland was orange. And not green. Or before it was green, it was orange.
Yeah.
So she would dress me up in orange.
Oh my
and
god.
she'd say, just tell the kids that orange is the real color of...
Oh my god.
And of course, being a little kid, I'm like, you got it, mother. And so I would, and then not only would I get pinched, I'd be bullied then. Because I was an idiot.
But my parents would do the same kind of thing, where they try to be, like, smart for you.
Yeah.
And be like, you'll show off. And people think you're super smart and creative.
Right.
It's like, no.
You just wind up being hated.
Yeah, that doesn't work out that way. Like...
So that's my story. And I remember telling kids and thinking... Like you said, thinking I was like, I'll show these kids.
I'm gonna be so smart.
I'm gonna drop some knowledge, and they're gonna be blown away.
Truth bombs, people, and nothing.
And then you just get stabbed with pencils or whatnot. That's my sad.
Yeah.
For more depressing stories about me, tune in next month. I don't know. But anyway, are you ready for these, or do you want to go over some leprechaun facts?
Yeah. So there's some facts about leprechauns. It's 7 things you didn't know about leprechauns.
7 things I did not know about leprechauns.
It's one for every documentary.
Okay, sure. Go.
They weren't all that friendly. They make their first appearance in an 8th century poem. King Fergus of Ulster wakes up to find tiny, angry men sneakily trying to drag him into the ocean and drown him while he sleeps.
Understandable.
Yeah. They only stop when he wakes up and makes a fuss about it. They lived in water, not a shoe shop.
Could you guys not be dragging me into the water, please?
Stop it!
Hey guys, can you please stop?
This is soap. This is nice.
These are my speeches. Can you like get off of me,
please? They lived in the water, not a shoe shop, and beer didn't even come into it.
Beer?
I've never heard the shoe thing.
Yeah, they made shoes.
Really?
Yeah, according to an old Looney Tunes episode I'm remembering.
Another documentary.
Sure, I guess.
They lived underwater in the middle of the sea in Leprechaun Kingdom. That's mid-Atlantic, so realistically you'd expect leprechauns probably had an accent like Callum Best.
Which is, what does that sound like? Give me your best Callum Best.
I don't know what that is. Is that a person?
Callum Best? It might be like a... I don't know, yeah.
Oh.
It's probably what it sounded like. Alright.
They didn't grant wishes or fix your shoes. The best you could hope for was they'd help you breathe underwater.
Sweet.
The leprechauns gave King Fergus that ability, provided he wore one of their cloaks on his head or put herbs in his ears. Leprechauns were pretty mean.
Okay.
When the leprechauns in the 8th century story gave Fergus the power to breathe underwater, it applied to all water except for one lake. Of course, this was the one lake where he had to fight a monster and later drown.
Sure.
You'd probably crush a wee leprechaun before you could hear it utter any crake in a charming Irish accent. They were super, super tiny.
Okay. These are fascinating facts.
I know. The shoemaker story, the first mention of shoes comes about in the 19th century. There's another spelling of leprechaun which could be translated as working on one shoe. And the Crock of Gold, a 14th century poem, had a list of all the magic stuff that the leprechaun had in his bag. Okay. And the gold may have came from that.
Now, where does Lucky Charms come into play?
It's a delicious breakfast cereal.
Right. Do they have Lucky Charms in the bag?
I don't know. I'm still reading. 4 other creatures from Irish mythology that don't get the same attention.
Okay.
This is on the list, so I'm going to keep going with it.
Sure.
The Meirdris, a lake monster that keeps inflating and deflating like a pair of bellows.
Wow.
The
Terrifying.
Cynic, another lake monster with huge glittering tusks and eyes that blaze like 2 great torches. Kelpies, beautiful horses that live in lakes.
I know about kelpies.
Sometimes they gallop out of the water, tempt humans onto their backs, then stampede into the water, drowning the rider.
Jerks.
And banshees.
Yay!
These unpleasant creatures fly over your house, screaming on the day you're going to die. Interesting.
What a bunch of jerks.
Yeah. So those are 7 things, words put together that I read.
Great.
Because they're not really super facts, but it works.
Oh. Well, speaking of which, let's move on to some stories, shall we? So, although you did mention leprechauns, you did mention banshees as well.
I mentioned a whole bunch of things, Colin.
You mentioned more leprechaun stuff than I think I could ever take again. We're going to do a banshee story first. Alright? Simply titled, The Banshee.
Straight to the point.
This is found on Creepypasta. You can check out The Banshee on Creepypasta. It was a normal day in County Kerry in Ireland. Well, what the rest of you would consider to be normal. The likes of you reading this will probably have a job of some vague description or be in some form of education. Not me. I'm a free spirit.
You go, girl.
I do not, or did not, when it happened, attend school. I left early because school just wasn't for me.
Oh my god, this person's so cool.
Let's leave it at that. I was more of a hands-on kind of person.
Oh my god, they raped people.
Wink, wink. Well, we don't know that.
They raped, yes.
Okay. I'm not saying I'm stupid, because I'm not. It's just I had a different sort of intelligence than that which was demanded by the education system.
A handsy-feely kind of intelligence.
Oh, well, let's find out. Myself descending from an agricultural background, and I'll tell you this. Strange things happen out in the country. Country?
What?
And I was reading county, but it's country. It happens.
That's not getting edited out.
That's not... Alright, fine.
Country?
Country. Strange, eerie things.
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, it would be Irish, so it would be like on a bagpipe. Perfect. Growing up in Ireland, I of course heard my fair share of folk tales told by me by my dearest mother. God rest her soul.
Oh, wow.
Tales warning me not to disobey my parents, or else the tall man will get me.
Editor's note, never watched that movie.
But that's not what this is about. Thank goodness, because again, that is a bad movie. I grew up listening intently to these folk tales, because that's what they were to me back then. Tales and fables, just stories. I'm not sure if you readers are aware of one of Ireland's most famous folk tales, forgive me if I'm wrong, a creature known as the Banshee. You ready?
Whew. Yes.
Let's do it.
I've done my Kegels.
I'm 17 now, but when it happened I was around the age of 12. It was a normal day for me and my little sister, who shall remain nameless out of respect. I guess she's dead.
She killed her.
Maybe. We were playing out in the fields one late afternoon. The winds of Ireland swept across the barley, created waves across the land which rippled in various shades of gold and yellow.
Oh my god, scenery.
The sun was starting to retreat back into the horizon, illuminating the world in rich shades of purple and orange. As usual, me and my sister were playing hide-and-seek in the fields, and me being the older brother...
Oh, never mind.
I tended to opt for the seeker, just so I could see her smile when she laughed as I found her. That's a good guy.
That sounds creepy.
You've never... Well...
I just wanted to see her smile.
I used to play hide-and-seek with my brother. It's fun.
Smile for me, baby.
Alright, this guy is not... You're painting a very bad picture of this guy. On the verge of the field were the woods. Even when the sun cast celestial vibrancy upon the woods, it still remained dark and foreboding. Anyway, we were playing hide-and-seek, and when I noticed something just on the rise of the field before it dipped down again. It was like this black bag. That's the only way I can describe it, just kind of floating there at the bulge. I dismissed it, assuming it was just farming waste, like something had fallen off a tractor. You ever seen something and thought it was like something else?
Oh god, yeah.
I've told you my balloon alien story, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's the biggest time I could think of.
Yeah.
Actually, driving the other day, a black bag flew out in front of the truck. I thought it was a giant bird.
Yeah, it's always like the stuff in the road kind of thing. I remember Sam saw a cat about slamming on the brakes and was like, "What the hell is that?" It was just a cat. She didn't have her glasses on. It was terrifying for everyone involved because it was just a cat.
The carload of people.
It was terrifying.
Well, you would stop for a cat too.
No, I mean you could see it was a cat, and she slammed on the brakes like we had just saw like Sasquatch.
Oh, fair enough.
It was very scary because it was like it's not anything. It's a cat.
As I continued searching for my little sister, she was an excellent hider, and some days I wouldn't even find her at all, causing my mother to panic rather frequently. Through the barley, this black bag thing managed to keep itself fixed in my peripheral vision. Again, I dismissed it, thinking it was that cause of the wind fluttering the bag around. I noticed a movement in the barley about 20 meters from me, so I crouched down and silently waded through, hoping to find my sister, and hoping that the sound of the wind would mask me. Wind sounds. Roadhouse.
Ladle, 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 ladle.
As I hoped for the sound of the wind, I heard something quite different, like a sort of wailing, a very faint and distant wailing far in the distance. I stopped and listened intently and made a cup over my ears. The sound of the wailing merged with the whistling of the wind coming through the woods, almost like the sound of a kettle boiling. I crouched there, listening for X amount of time, the guy doesn't know, 30, maybe 40 seconds. My sister jumped up from hiding and ran to a different location, which made me jump out of my skin. So we got a kid, sees a bag, sees a sister, playing games.
Mm-hmm.
In Ireland. I was gonna do this in like an Irish accent, but...
Oh, thank God you did.
I feel it'd be offensive to everybody. That bag blew nearer to me and was now in my sight, just floating there. I began to get creeped out. It seemed like it was following me. I shouted to my sister that the game was over, and that we were heading back inside. My gaze was fixed upon this black bag, which seemed so ominous. My sister appeared at my side. She looked up at me, and I down to her. She knew that look. I wasn't joking around. I told her to go back to the house, which was just over the wall, and 100 yards down the road. She obeyed, as if she knew that tone I gave her. I made sure she got over the wall safely, and I turned to where the bag was. Or at least where it used to be. Ooh. It seemed to move across the field in a zigzag pattern, towards me. I froze with shock as I didn't know what to do, and all I could do was watch the bag come closer and closer, The wailing became louder and louder, like the sound of shell shock. I don't know what shell shock is. I thought that was something.
I thought it was just like you being like...
I thought it's something soldiers got, like in World War II.
Yeah.
Like PTSD.
Yeah, it's like one of those, like... I don't know.
Well. After what seemed like an eternity, the bag was in range of being able to distinguish what it was. It wasn't a bag. It was some sort of black robe, much like the Witch King from Lord of the Rings. Good call, kid. Tattered and torn, the bottom of it stained, I stood there, mouth open. In terror, I watched this thing come towards me. This bundle of rags float across the field. The wailing became louder, and my heart began to pound, trying to escape my chest. Sweat flooded off of me. All I could do was watch this thing come closer, and closer, and closer. That's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
I don't know, this reminds me of like that scene in like Jeepers Creepers 2, when he's running across the like field.
Oh, and then he throws like the four.
Yeah, but just
thing.
like I would imagine like that black
it's like,
mass.
What the heck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that kind of. This is like really creepy to me.
The bundle of rags stopped several meters in front of me, and the wailing stopped. All I could hear now was my heartbeat in my ears, like some ancient primal drums of war thumping away. The bundle of rags rose from the ground and emitted a blood-curdling shriek, a piercing scream which deafened me briefly. I held my ears and felt the blood trickle out of them. A hooded entity filled the robes. It stood tall and thin, long white hair flowing out of the hood. It then turned to me and looked right into my soul. I felt the sharp pain in my chest. I clutched my chest in agony and writhed on the ground. It let out the same deafening scream, and I noticed through fighting back tears that it was a woman. Pale and hollow she looked. It pointed at me with her long skeletal fingers, and then it pointed in the direction of my house. It then looked directly back into my eyes, and as quickly as it attacked, it disappeared into a bundle of rags on the ground. I lay there in the earth, panting, sweating, and looking at the blood stains on my hands. I lay there in pain and in fear. It was then I realized what I had just seen. The omen on Bad News and Death. The Banshee. It wasn't coming for me, it came as a warning. I had to get back to the house. I stumbled up from the earth and eventually ended up in the house. I found my sister standing in the kitchen, silent, in shock. She didn't hear me crash through the door. I startled her when I touched her on the shoulder. She looked at me in horror, tears streaking her face. Speechless, she looked at me, then looked to the floor, where my mother lay, dead. Authorities report she died of a heart attack, but I knew what really happened.
That would have been what really happened.
Well, I think it's more about, like, the authority... yeah, I guess the Banshee could have been...
Because the Banshee's just the warning of death.
Yeah, maybe.
So she could have died from a heart attack. What else would it be?
Mm-hmm. Ugh. Kind of a creepy story, though.
It is a creepy story. What, do you know any, history of the Banshee? Like, why it's a woman? What?
No, as far as I know, the Banshee was always sort of... It was always like a ghost creature. But it was more of that, just if you saw one, they always screamed. They were always wailing, like a wailing banshee. And they were just like omens of death. Like, to see a banshee, like, screaming away was not, like, a good sign. It was always just a bad sign.
See, I always thought it was a woman.
Yeah, they are. Well, generally.
And, like, why?
I don't know.
That's like one of those things, like, why would it be a woman?
I don't know. There could be some lore to it where, like, a woman, like, fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be her spirit coming back to warn
like,
other people.
Yeah, because like La Lorna is like that.
La Lorna.
You know, it has like the same.
Yeah, that. She would be considered a banshee. I think. I think she's considered a Spanish.
She
banshee.
would be.
So, what do you think of the banshee story? I mean, it is creepy. Whoever wrote this, and sadly, I do not have the author's name on here. Does a really good job. I dig the way he like showed the setting and described everything. Definitely creepy.
Yeah, it is. For sure. Like, I just like putting yourself in like that big open field and having that like what is this thing? And then, yeah, like that kind of thing is is really, really creepy.
Yeah, it definitely sort of works as a visual standpoint. So hey, way to go. Again, this was on a creepypasta.com/the Banshee. Yeah, I've read a number of Banshee stories, and again, they're always sort of that it'd be about a guy going into a haunted castle and seeing a Banshee, or like old like warriors and knights would see Banshees out on like maybe like the battlefield and stuff like that. As far as I know, they were just generally like visions of death. You know, there were bad omens, things you did not want to see. But again, that's all.
So traditionally, when a person died, a woman would sing a lament.
A lament.
At the funeral. These women are referred to as keeners, and the best keeners would be in high demand. Legend has it that for great Gaelic families, the lament would be sung by a fairy woman. Having foresight, she would sing it when a family member died, even if the person had died far away and news of their death had not yet come, so that the wailing of the banshees was the first warning the household had of death.
Okay.
So that's it. So it doesn't even really come from like a ghost thing, more that it comes from like an actual real person.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of see that idea used fairly often. Fairly often, I think, like the whole wailing banshee omen thing. But that's that. That's all I've got to say about the banshee. You got anything else?
A banshee story was one of the first like lores that I ever really heard of that really creeped me out. Just like that screaming and stuff, and I didn't really like get it.
Yeah, because they don't generally do anything. They're
not there to harm you or anything, and I never knew it as like a warning. I think I was too young to really connect like everything together, but just the fact that it was like this screaming, and nothing ever really came after you. It was just hearing the banshees wail, and that being the scariest thing because they weren't there to attack you. They weren't there to do anything. It was just the warning wail, and that's really creepy.
The only thing that would be worse would be an actual warning wail.
Yeah.
Like if you're out in the field, like a whale, like kind of came up and like brags.
Dude.
It's like,
I hate to tell you this.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Or the
whale of bad news.
I don't mean to joke.
It's not the time.
Look, your mom might have had a heart attack.
It's
Anywho.
okay.
Anywho. See you around. I just like... I don't know, wailing van. Oh, what a stupid idea that was.
Yeah, it could happen.
It could.
There's probably a phobia for it.
There's probably a fear of whales giving bad news.
Yes.
So let's move on to the leprechaun story we have, called Longman's Leprechaun. Again, hopefully whoever wrote this is down at the bottom. This is another creepypasta we found.
And this is super dated in the first sentence.
This already in the first sentence tells you how old... Well, I mean, it says the year,
It does say the year, but without the year. Say it without the year.
Alright. I worked shifts at a Blockbuster video store in Slough High Street.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Please rewind.
Do you, like... Oh, man. So a little bit about us. Some of our first date nights used to be...
Binge watching horror movies?
Yeah, but going to a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, you remember that. I'm speaking about Caitlin and I, not just anybody. And that was probably half the fun, I think, was going to, like, the video store.
Well, we would go there
around.
and we would look around. Well, no. We would go there and we would get a Fangoria.
Yeah,
and we would look in the back. We would look in the back of the Fangoria.
And see, like, what was...
And see, like,
good.
the horrible ratings on movies. And we would go for the lowest rated movie and see if they had it.
I miss Blockbusters.
I really miss Blockbusters.
Because half of the fun was going through each aisle and you look at the covers.
And getting deceived by covers and being like... So they had $10,000 for the cover of a DVD and about $5 for the movie.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
I miss Blockbusters.
Me too. I hate that, like, there's a ton of generation coming up that is never going to go and actually pick, like...
Yeah, it's all on your computer and stuff. Or the most they'll do is go to, like, a Redbox.
But anybody can, like, I don't know. There are some amazing, like, VHS and DVD covers out there. I mean, like, award-winning, like, art kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh well.
And I miss that.
We're old people. Let's find out about Longman's leprechaun. Anywho, this happens in 1997, so there you go. In 1997, I worked shifts at a Blockbuster video store in Slough High Street. Could be slow. But I'm gonna call it Slough. The shop was open till 10 p.m. on weekdays, but after cleaning up and cashing up the tills, we often didn't get out until after midnight. Because I didn't live too far away, I often walked home by myself, enjoying the time alone to think in the peace and quiet. After one such night, I walked up the high street and turned left onto Wexham Road. At the Wellington Street junction, there wasn't any traffic, so I jumped the barrier, same as I did most nights. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. I moved quickly. At the top of the train bridge, I needed to pee. Interesting little tidbit there.
You guys can go anywhere. It's so
That's true. No, being a guy is pretty cool because you can literally pee anywhere.
It's ridiculous. And by the time you're done, everyone else has figured out, like, what is that guy doing? He's peeing. And then you're walking away, and it doesn't even matter.
Looking about, double-checking there was no one coming, I stepped into the shadows on the side of the path and began relieving myself, all the time scanning up and down the road from the top of the bridge. I have to admit, that is a really cool feature.
Alright.
That a man has.
Okay, great. Continue with the story.
As I was about to finish, all of a sudden the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I looked around to see someone spinning in strange, jumpy movements up the bridge, out of nowhere behind me. Putting myself away quickly, dribbling in my boxers in my haste, I struggled to make out what at first looked like a fat kid in a green tracksuit, wildly spinning in circles in the shadows of the orange streetlights.
Oh, there's orange.
There you go. Oh, stupid little fat kid. I like to think it's that kid from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Hans, what's his name?
Hans?
Is it Hans?
Hans! No, that's SpongeBob. I don't know what his name. No, it's Glustus.
Glustus. Oh, it's the chocolate. Go my goose. Anyway, I don't know. Apart from being strange behavior for this time of night, something about the way he was moving seemed odd. It was giving me the willies. My spider sense was saying run, but I couldn't move my feet, not wanting to take my eyes off this weird thing I was saying. I have to admit, I would probably be like, I don't know, I'm torn between whether I would just be so scared of like a fat kid spinning. I would run, or I would watch him, just to see if he fell or something.
What's weird is, like, as much as we read this stuff, and I'm almost to that point where it's like, hey, there's alien Bigfoots, and I'm like, I believe in that. That is a thing that could happen. Like, I feel like even if I saw this in real life, I'd be like, fuck is that kid doing? And just walk away, and never be the wiser to it, like, whatsoever.
You make a good point. Yeah, I probably would just
like, it would literally be like,
weird.
What the hell is he doing? And then just, like, leave. Like, I'd literally just be like, I'm gone.
Try and aim some piss on him.
Like, it would be nothing. And then at the end of the day, it's like, you believe in all this crap, and then you actually see something, and it's just like, see you.
It was just a fat kid.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did it. Maybe fear, or maybe because I thought it looked genuinely funny. But a small laugh, barely a tut, escaped from my lips, and I cussed myself there and then. I knew instantly I'd made a big mistake. At the edge of the streetlight, half in the shadow, half in the orange streetlight, the spinning figure stopped moving. Facing my direction as if looking straight at me from the darkness was what looked like a leprechaun. Black shoes, shiny yellow buckles on them, greeny brown baggy trousers, green suit jacket with tails like a penguin suit, a big green top hat that completely shadowed his face, making his features totally unrecognizable. So basically the one from the movie. It's Warwick Davis.
The documentary.
Okay, it's Warwick Davis. That was it for me. It was all getting too much for my brain to work out. It wasn't St. Patrick's Day for ages, and this motherfucker didn't walk up the road. He's the same height as a kid, but he wouldn't be out on his own from a fancy dress party at this time of night.
I love this, that he instantly goes to is like, no, first of all, this kid, not at this time of night. Fancy dress party, not a kid.
It ain't St. Patrick's Day.
Like, I love that, like, that's the, like...
I didn't see him walk up. Ain't no fancy dress parties around here.
You gotta at least be 14 to get into those fancy dress parties, and this kid is clearly, like, 9.
What kind of fancy dress parties would you wear, like, a green, like, tracksuit, though? I've never been to a fancy
He would be
dress
like
party,
the odd man out of a fancy dress party, if that's what he's wearing.
He'd be someone's like +1.
And then it's just like,
oh, don't, jeez.
It'd be like going around to the groups like all day, just being like, look, he doesn't have a lot, and I'm just trying to get him to like understand where I'm coming from.
Oh, there's Greg O'Malley! That's him in the background.
Yes! Like,
Did you see they have 3 types of cheeses?
Then it's like, oh,
way to go! But look, he's my cousin from out of town. I told him I'd take care of him for a
gotta
week.
be nice to him.
Don't mention the shoes, is what I'm saying. Well, anyway, I'm just glad I got to throw in my accent there.
Yeah, thank God for that.
So anyway, he sees this little leprechaun-looking guy spinning around. He stops spinning, and now he's looking at him. An overwhelming, uncomfortable, almost eerie feeling rushed through my body. A rapid onset of paranoia. I thought I was going to vomit in the road then and then. Or there and then. Wherever. The second he made a move and stepped in my direction, my feet went into autopilot, walking away slowly down the opposite side of the bridge. I couldn't take my eyes off him. He did a small jump in the air like he was clicking his heels, landing and running unnaturally fast across the road in a zigzag fashion, heading my way. At the bottom of the bridge, I chanced to look in front of me to see where I was going, not wanting to trip over, and when I looked back behind me, the leprechaun was at the top of the bridge, on his hands and knees like a dog. Staying in that same position, he somehow jumped straight up 6 feet in the air, landed, and began crawling down the bridge heading my way.
If you're in a fancy dress suit kind of thing like that, you ain't acting a fool like this.
I don't know, I hate to bring it back to Lucky Charms, but that guy jumps pretty high. He's running from those kids.
You make fun of me because I said Leprechaun was a documentary, and you're taking everything off of like a cereal commercial.
I am a middle to low class raised American. Lucky Charms is all the cultural.
We just had the chocolate ones; those are really good.
I don't know. They tasted really like the chocolate was too artificial for me.
Really all of that. It tasted just like the Cocoa Pebbles.
This is this new cereal cast segment we're starting.
It's very original Lucky Charms is amazing.
Yeah, they are pretty good.
With like the frosted sugar coat.
Yeah. Anyway, back onto this poor guy. I picked up the pace, still unable to work out what was going on. This wasn't normal, but I kept thinking maybe this was just a kid, or a drunk fucking with me, and he's laughing while I'm having my first, last, and only panic attack. Heart thumping in my chest, adrenaline pumping, and cold sweating like crazy.
Knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti.
Congrats, I have nothing to say to that.
On the surface he looks calm and ready.
So, maybe this is the bridge over 8 Mile.
Oh my god.
And the leprechaun was...
It could be Eminem. He looks like he could come from that.
From Ireland?
No, just like a leprechaun. He's got like that squinty little face to me.
Some shit does look a bit like a leprechaun.
Like if you just added stuff, like a longer bit, like he just has that like, ugh.
Oh, guess who's back?
Stop.
On the canal bridge, I got a bit of relief from the thought that I was nearly home. Nearly safe, and whatever was behind me is still crawling 50 meters back down the road. I looked down at my feet and realized I have started to jog, and before I know it, I'm sprinting. At the turning for Broadmark Road, I should have continued straight to the flats where I lived, but for some reason, I found myself taking the turning. Looking back over my shoulder to see that the leprechaun was crawling over the canal bridge and moving at speed. This took a very creepy turn very quickly. I took the next left into Carlton Road and ran the full length of the road as fast as I could, past the chip shop, over the grass of the common, through the alley, round the back of the flats, up the stairs, and into my flat, all without looking back. Closing the door and leaning against it briefly to catch my breath, I realized my nose was bleeding. Without putting the lights on, I went to the kitchen sink to clean up. Looking out the window, up and down the Wexham Road, no sign of him, no sign of anyone. Then out of nowhere, I see him sitting on the dustbin outside. I watched him sit there looking at the flats for 45 minutes before a car pulled up into the BP garage and caught my eye. It was the first sign of life for ages. In that split second I looked back at the bin, but the leprechaun, or whatever it was, had vanished. I double locked my doors, checked my windows were locked, and drew all the curtains as a precaution, peeking out throughout the early hours, finally giving into sleep only when the sun's rays began to shine and people were walking around outside. I've never seen it again. Anyone I told thought I was crazy, so eventually I stopped telling people and forgot all about it until 2014, when I was surfing YouTube on my phone and a short film called 2 AM popped up on the screen. As I watched it, I was instantly reminded of that strange night in 1997. There was something about that night always haunting me. It wasn't a drunk, he didn't look high, it wasn't a kid or a prank, it was just a very, very scary thing to see. Ugh.
It's really creepy.
Yeah. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it started off kind of silly, but...
Well, it was just just enough detail, but not enough that it, like, takes forever kind of thing, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I liked it. I was trying to look at that 2 AM video, but there's literally 100 things with 2 AM in the title. Oh well. If we find it, we'll put it up. So I think that about wraps it up for our kind of Irish-themed stories today. Had some stories about leprechauns.
Some little golden stories.
There you go. These are the marshmallows in your Lucky Charms. No?
No.
I have Lucky Charms. Can we go get some Lucky Charms, actually?
We still have a little bit of the chocolate.
Alright. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. That'll do us for a little bit. I do want to do the Choose Your Own Map venture I was thinking of doing. I don't know. I need to figure out this headset. Again, it makes this weird popping sound randomly, and I know it's not the mic itself. It just randomly seems to happen.
I wish you could have seen the hand gesture.
I'm making hand gestures.
It was definitely a jerking off gesture.
Well, you know,
For
I got whatever. My mind is elsewhere, I suppose. If you guys have any tips on recording, what you guys use to record, if you do have a podcast, your editing tools, let us know. We record with Audacity, and I also edit in Audacity. But if you guys use something different or you've heard of something better, let me know. I'd love to make this
better.
Easier, yeah. Just with quality and I know the mic we're using isn't the best. I know the headset I used sounded really good, but again, those popping sounds were just really annoying. So any tips you guys have for us would be really, I think, awesome and better for you guys.
Any topics?
Yeah, of course. If you guys have
any
prompts,
thoughts, any children's books that you remember, any creepy stories that you heard, anything that you would want to talk about, please let us know, and please go rate us. That would be excellent.
Yeah, going back to the prompts, if you guys have any ideas for us, you can always email us at spookitpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter's @spookitpodcast. Facebook is /spookitpodcast. It's the same theme, you know. Yeah, if you have any prompts, again, and you mentioned rating. A really cool thing is, I know iTunes can be annoying. You have to log in and find us and whatnot. But if you would, leave us a rating, however stars you think is worth it.
5 would be great.
5 would be great, but honestly, the best feedback is honest feedback. In my opinion.
It would, just honestly, if you could tell us, and we can change stuff and make it better and make it what you want to hear. Yeah,
so give us that rating, or just let us know through
email, Twitter, and Facebook.
And we will happily try.
We will conform to whatever you want.
Whatever you guys want. Again, this is a show that we want you all to enjoy.
And as long as it's spooky stuff, we love talking about it.
Yeah. So I think that about wraps it up. Do you have anything you want to...
It does wrap it up.
It does wrap it up.
Big old rail.
Do you have anything you want to say before we go?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we don't have an hour for you to think of something, so I think we're going to go. And we will see you when we see you. Again, I don't know when our next episode will be. Do you want to say a prompt now? What do you want us to do? You know what? I think our next prompt will be dreams.
Okay.
Or nightmares, I suppose. I've had
Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Yeah, there you.
Copyright.
Was that a book by Stephen King? Okay, whew, I did it, guys. I did it, Mom. I did it. So our next episode will be about dreams. If you've had a particular nightmare or a really odd thing that's happened to you in a dream, let us know about it. We'll be happy to read it on here. I know I've got a scary one I want to talk about. Last episode you mentioned...
I don't like talking about mine.
We're going to mention it, though. Oh, yeah. It's going to be great.
Oh, God.
So tune in next time. Again, I don't know when that'll be. I hope soon. You'll have a Choose Your Own Adventure coming up shortly, and the other project I think I'm going to ditch. But whatever. I think that does it for us.
I think that's it.
That's Matt and Caitlin at the Spook It Podcast. Wishing you see you later, I guess. I don't know.
You're drunk.
I am. I might have been drinking a little bit. If you heard a pause, probably where I play a little music, we had some friends come over and we played Mario Party 10. It just came out today, Friday the 20th, and it's actually really fun.
It is really fun, just like all the other ones.
Yeah, so I've been sorry if you're. there's a little bit of personality change before that part, and then no, I'm rambling. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a wonderful time. I hope you've enjoyed this, and don't forget to read your heart out. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. This is terrible. Bye.